For a 30-year-old car, the body is actually in pretty decent shape. There's still a lot of work to be done, however, and the first thing I need to look at is the front bumper. As with most low-lying vehicles, this car has been curbed before. I already knew that before buying the car. A quick look underneath the front end showed the usual signs. I could see that there are three main things to fix that should get this bumper sitting correctly. The most immediate problem is the plastic deflector running back that's supposed to deflect debris. It had been hanging and even dragging for quite some time before, as evidenced by the scraping damage. The previous owner fixed this with self-tapping screws and very large fender washers. Those big washers helped for a time, but they started to rip through. The OE bumper is a two-piece design that's bolted together. This allowed me to remove the lower bumper where all of this damage is. I have some ideas on how to address that damage, but I want to hold off until my parts come in. The second part to fix are these metal brackets. They give a solid structure to the edge of the plastic bumper and attach it to the fender. They're actually mostly fine. The only real issue is that the clips that held it to the fender were missing. I replaced these and the brackets were able to do their job, pulling everything into alignment. And by replaced, I mean I zip tied them together. Like I said, this is temporary until the aftermarket parts come in. And it's a good thing I did wait, because after the body kit came in, I realized I wouldn't need the stock front bumper at all. I will have to use the stock side skirts and the rear bumper, but not the front. This kit is called the Wide Mouth 4-piece kit, and it's made by Wings West. I got it for a really good price. Immediately after my order, it nearly doubled in price. A few days later, I got a call to confirm the order and let me know that these items are made to order now and no longer stocked. I suspect the price jump was to account for this, and my order forced the change. All of the parts arrived undamaged, and I wasn't too worried about the urethane body kit, but the fiberglass Pro Wing was a concern. Luckily, that arrived undamaged as well. Unfortunately, it got ran into by a kid or a dog and now has a crack on the top of the passenger vertical. It's not too bad, but I will have to repair it later. Installation of the wing was actually really simple. This particular wing has threaded inserts that receive a bolt. I simply taped up the trunk deck and set the wing exactly where I wanted it. With the curve around the back hooking into the place and the width matching the hatch, this was super easy. After final positioning, I traced the outer profile of the wing onto the tape, and that'll make alignment super easy later. I put in some really short bolts that bottomed out and painted the heads of them, then set the wing back onto the tape, transferring those hole locations. This made it easy because there was no measuring to mess up. And where the holes ended up is perfect. The bolts are accessible without removing trim. They also ended up in a position that if any water does get in, it will run right into normal water channeling for the hatch. The wing bolted up perfectly and it looks awesome. It's exactly what I was going for. There are some small cosmetic tweaks that I'll end up doing later, like deleting the logo indents, but that's a problem for another day. For now, we need to get back to the front bumper. While I was pulling this off to test fit the new bumper, I found just how bad these turn signals are, and yeah, they need replaced. Luckily, on the new bumper, we actually aren't reusing the OE turn signals. I'll have to come up with something, but again, that's a plan for another day. And it's a good thing I did wait to get too involved with the original bumper. One of the main things that I had considered with the old bumper is these metal brackets, but it turns out the new aftermarket bumper does not require them. The edge is actually molded in exactly the same fashion, and I can't reuse the bracket here. I'm slightly concerned that that'll create drooping sort of issues with this urethane kit, but we'll have to see how that turns out. As it is, I definitely don't need to reuse these particular brackets though. This urethane kit came with molded sections for where all the old bolt holes were, but they're not drilled out yet, so I'll have to take care of that. It's no big deal, a little step bit took care of this. This urethane is really easy to drill. It's a super soft, pliable material, and that's sort of why I chose it. I'm hoping that this bumper will hold up better than some fiberglass counterparts. and it was able to bolt in place using the old mounting bracket, except for the fact that the passenger side didn't quite fit. It looked like it had shrunk and I couldn't stretch it to reach. I ultimately ended up re-drilling the hole in this corner a little bit out and pulling everything tight, and it did settle right into place eventually. In contrast to the bumper, the side skirts actually do rely on the OE skirts to kind of give them shape. And they use these screw type plastic panel clips. And those worked pretty good, except for the fact that the screw heads were now so soft that I couldn't back them out. And that's why you see me here taking a drill to them and just drilling out that center section and popping it apart. With those out of the way, the skirt just pops free, slides to the forward slightly, and unclips from every single side clip here. Now, the stock skirts have this little lip on the upper edge that fills the gap between the top of the skirt and the bottom of the door and quarter panel. The new skirt utilizes that space to have this upper lip that kind of goes up into the door jamb to stick to the side. So in order for that to fit, I have to trim this upper lip on the OE skirt. That was really easy on this plastic body panel with just a razor knife. And we'll grab our aftermarket one here that I cleaned the inside of, not the outside. Don't worry about that, trust me, it's clean.
And this is what we're using. It's Tiger Seal stuff.
I'm gonna start inside the door where this section kind of sits on top of the skirt some more. This top section here, and glue that, shut the door on it to hold it in place. I'll do that, and then I'll go along the entire edge and add a bead of the stuff right on the corner where they actually contact. This way we know it'll be installed in the correct position. And I'm gonna shim underneath the door with cardboard just so it presses harder on that. It really holds it in place. There we go. And now I should be able to let it set. There we go. You can see we've got a nice consistent body line all the way down the edge. Should work pretty well. And that's how the car is sitting right now. I've got the front bumper sorted out, side skirts attached. I wish I had the rear bumper sorted out, but I kind of made that oopsie there, and I have to figure out how I'm going to rebuild that corner. But outside of that, this is coming right along. Next on the slate is to figure out how to rebuild the corner of that bumper and to finalize my plan for my splitter. From there, we're going to be looking at priming and eventually paint. So if you're interested to see how all that goes, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.